Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we are indeed engaged once again here together on Operation Status Quo. Yo, how we doing out there on a Thursday, ladies and gentlemen? Absolutely wonderful. We're heading towards the weekend quickly, huh? Lots of stuff going on. If the world lasts that long, we'll see what's going on. I heard today one of the quick stories I saw as I went through my mainstream media nonsense. They're calling for jihad, I guess, on Americans, with all the stuff going on in the Middle East. So just be safe out there. I don't know if they're going to unleash a bunch of the Middle East people here in the United States, just start killing citizens, or if they're just going to kill people overseas. I'm not really sure, but Friday the 13th, a day of jihad and war against, it's so crazy. I'm sorry. I mean, I know, seriously, there's really crazy people out there that are really deep into that type of stuff and really take that stuff, I don't know, seriously and personally. And there's people really want to kill people out there over this kind of crap. It's just so crazy to me. I just can't even, I never could fathom it. And, it's kind of funny in a sense. Well, it's not funny, obviously, but to see a portion of our society, our mindset as humanity to be able to be so dark, to be able to place so much anger and fear and violence. It's really, again, of course, I think it's all perpetrated by the system. That's what the system designs to create, to make the space. They say all this type of stuff. They create it and do it. I never believe it's the everyday people walking around that, want to hurt each other or anyone else themselves, anyone. As you can tell, I'm a friendly person. I like to speak to a lot of people. I make a lot of connections and interactions, and I really don't come across people that, just want to beat people up. Although, I have met some people, especially back in the days of the gym, when those guys are all juiced up on their creatine or whatever roids and crap they're taking. Those guys with their necks, they're the neck is wider than their head, So sometimes they're pretty jazzed up and looking to fight a little bit, but I just think that's a little too much testosterone. That's a whole nother issue. So hold on, before I get started here, let's see. I know I'm not going to get into this evaporated beer because I don't know. It seems like a lot of words that seem like could cause problems. What if Islam sees the tusks and Catholics sees the trunk, step back and see the elephant? Okay, I guess, right. I hear what you're saying there in a way because truthfully, everything is all the same thing, right? One person sees one side of thing, one person sees the other side of thing. They're fighting over that and it's all just one elephant. So I appreciate that. I get nervous when I see the word Islam and stuff because I feel like, my God, they're such trigger words for people. You can't even say the words themselves, like trans or something, right? It's just scary out there. Oh my goodness. All right. First of all, hello and welcome. I am Pete Palma. This is Operation Status Quo. This is the space where we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And then, of course, we create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. And I'm not looking to get into heavy political crap today. It's just, I will say this before I get into my topic, it's just that, I tell you guys, I'm into some of the astrology information as well too, and there's a number of people that I watch that talk about the movements of the stars and the energies and the this and the that and blah blah blah. And when I put that together, with things I see, going on in the world and all the other little facets of information that I watch, so I find it interesting because it does line up. They've been talking for a long time that by the end of the year it would definitely be some serious stuff going on. And so not only do we have, what was already happening between Russia and Ukraine, and, now this is going on with, Israel, and then on top of it, you got the Speaker of the House thing. Then you got this Menendez, that Bob Menendez has got, it says, more charges, the Democratic senator who was found with the gold bars and stuff, which, by the way, is totally amazing because it's just putting it out there in people's minds. Again, because everything's a show, right? A senator was bribed. Nobody would think twice about that, but a senator was bribed and he has gold bars. That makes another issue because, there's such a lot of speak right now on how our monetary system is collapsing and the benefits of getting actual physical metals or some sort of commodities like in your physical possession to protect yourself from when the market crashes and all. So, I mean, it's just like there's just like such a swoop of so much. And quite honestly, I think like the show is really gearing up. You know, I've been thinking we've been watching the show for years, and this is it, man. Like things are gearing up. I saw another poll. You know, Trump is even more ahead in the polls than he was. He keeps going up and up, and I don't know how it's going to play out because I still don't really think there's going to be an election. So I don't know how it'll all play out. But either way, it's fun. I wouldn't say it's fun, you know, the violence and all, people getting hurt and all that kind of thing. But it can be fun if you choose to let it be fun. If you just look at it that the world is it's just like a playground and all this crap is happening and you're just sitting back watching the show and you keep yourself centered and you keep yourself. That's why we do on Operation Status Quo. We observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life, and then we create our own flow of quo. That's what I'm talking about. You have to observe what's going on. You have to be able to flow with the everyday today that happens in your world, and then from there, you decide how you want to mitigate the circumstances and create the life that you want to create. And you work within the parameters of what's going on. And, it's simple as that. And if each person took the self-responsibility and the time for self-awareness and all that jibber jabber, they did all that to hone that type of thought process, then you're free. I mean, that's really where freedom comes from. In the meantime, we're flipping on CNN and Fox and MSNBC and watching a bunch of nonsense and being lied to. And speaking of lies, let's get into, that was yesterday's show, the lies, right? But everything's lies. Everything's lies. Let's get into what I'm talking about today. Today is the 12th of October in the good year 2023, and today's program is entitled Agent Howard Stern. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And, I thought about this. I've popped back up in my head yesterday, and that's why I'm doing this today. But, when Stern came out not too long ago talking about, supporting the woke thing, saying, oh, if woke means that I support, transgenders, if woke means I support being vaccinated, then I'm as woke as, woke can be, and sign me up, and just saying all that kind of thing, and I don't know. I guess I just thought to myself, I don't know, at this stage of his life and his career and the way he was always, quote unquote, looked like bucking the system, fighting the system, to speak and be free the way he wanted to and do, and and now he comes out and he's like a wuss in a way, like just like I don't know, just giving in or promoting this agenda that doesn't empower people at all. If anything, it disempowers society as well as pulls people apart from each other. So, but with that being said, it strikes me because, I come from a radio background. It really was the first thing I really was into. I worked in radio for some years. When I was in Philadelphia, I even had the opportunity. I actually worked for two of the big stations up there behind the scenes. I had a little bit, a couple of the DJs would let me on with them on the air once in a while. But generally, I was with the major market stations that I worked with. I was behind the scenes doing production work and stuff. But when I was coming up is during the time when Howard Stern was basically coming up. And back then, I liked him, right? I thought, he's doing what I used to like to do, like the morning type show, doing little comedy bits and doing jokes and blah, blah, blah. Now, I didn't like everything he did. Like, I liked him the way he spoke. I thought he did, obviously, with the interviews, he does a good job, and I thought, the stuff he did with his co-hosts and all as far as his comedy bits, I liked that stuff, the earlier, stuff. I was never into the, the way he tried to just glorify porn and the things with the strippers and, he's so creepy, right? When you think about it, I'm reflecting on all this now, and I liked him in the beginning, and, he just, made it like, because as a young person myself being idealistic and wanting to rebel against the system, right? That's why I realize now that he's like a tool, and like he was purposely put in that position to actually do everything that he did to pollute minds of society, because he was like an image of, somebody that was rebelling against the system and speaking his mind and doing what he wants to do, and yet was being, quote unquote, the system was trying to keep him down, but, he was so popular and they had no choice and blah, blah, blah. Hold on, let me go back to the chat quickly. Evaporated Bear, what says here? Identifying as something rewrites identity. It can be dangerous because of the language they use. They believe they are teapots and lampshades because they identify as such. Yeah, I hear what you mean, and I agree with you on that. It's a crazy thing, and I'm not going to talk about this. I don't want to get into that. Go too much off topic, but Evaporated Bear, to speak to your point. My job that I work, we got information today about celebrating. I guess today is national or something, National Coming Out Day or anything. And we have all the policies of how to identify, how to treat people, gender equality. I don't know, whatever. It's this whole policy of and it said just like what you said here, part of like what it said in the policy that they're showing us basically says, just because you are a gender, doesn't mean that you are that gender. Sex is not related to your gender, and I mean, it's just like all. I can't wait. I'm gonna get that, I think, and do a show about just to read. This is like policy from a government agency. It's like it's total insanity. So, I like to identify as somebody that I identify as somebody that people watch on YouTube. So, could somebody please start watching this damn show? Let's get up to 600. What do I got? 228 subscribers. I went down one again. I always tell you, I do a show and they go down. It's supposed to go up, but it goes down. But if it goes down, it means I'm doing a good job. Hey-o. Let's see here. Yeah, it sounds hectic. Good luck. Yeah, it's hectic. It's hectic. All right, so let me get back into just with Stern here quickly. So, yeah, and I basically look at him, and I realize now that he was kind of like everything else. Like I say, it's all a show. What we think are people who just came up as, independently, lived a life. They're actors or they're musicians or even politicians, people you think that just, came up. I mean, if you want to even use an example like Bill Clinton, I've heard multiple stories that he's actually like a bastard son of Winston Churchill. I don't know, right? But what I mean is it's in the same thing even with Trump. They say Trump is actually the son of General Patton from, World War II. And so, there's a lot of things like, just because we hear a story or they put it on Wikipedia, doesn't mean that's exactly, how that happened. And I know, of course, that makes everyone get crazy or conspiracy theory. But, the truth is it's not about conspiracy theories. It's about truth is so subjective in a sense. And like the powers that be that run the world, they know this and they're always able to kind of facilitate and create the stories, and the images that they want to push the population in the direction they want them to go. And that's the same thing I realized with Howard Stern. And when I really, like I say, when I first got into it, I first started hearing him, I liked him, it was because I liked that type of morning show, blah, blah, blah. But, working in that time, I remember, him coming into, going through town to town and, basically just humiliating like all the morning shows, so that his ratings overtook and eventually, everybody was just syndicating him out on the morning show instead of having the local people on their stations. And one of the people I remember most back then was John DeBella. And I had the opportunity to meet John DeBella a few times. I didn't meet John DeBella until after he was done the morning show because Stern had come in and basically made a jackass out of him too, and the ratings and blah, blah, blah. So, they bumped him into something else and they took, did away with that show, and Stern, became the number one morning show, in Philly. It was different stations, because Stern was on one station and John DeBella was on a different one. But either way, before Stern took over, John DeBella was with the Morning Zoo. It was like the number. I'm speaking from Philadelphia area, by the way. I'm sorry. I should mention that, because that's where I was from. That's where I'm from. That's where I was living at that time. And those were the people, I'm talking from that perspective. I know you guys are out there all over the world, So, but anyway, yeah, so, and then I started thinking more. First of all, he came in and was like just an asshole to people, right? And like, radio was kind of an asshole business anyway. I hate to say it, like people aren't always the most open and wanting to work together. It's very competitive. That's one of the reasons I kind of never really, pushed forward with it in that regard. But anyway, and then when I started thinking about even the material he did, okay, he came up, and you think, wow, this guy, he's bucking the system to do. And then like, all the crap with the porn and everything else, like, and the fart joke. jokes and fart man and all. Like, I'm not into that crap personally. I like to do, like, I'm silly. I make, dumb jokes, kind of, I guess if I make jokes at all, or I'm just dumb, whatever you think out there. But truthfully, I just, when he started doing all that stuff, I never liked it. Even with the strippers come in or whatever, and he's like, oh, I'm just going to touch your breasts now. And so, touching them. It's so creepy, it's just like a creepy way to be. He basically, supported and advocated that lifestyle of porn and to me even cheating, like, on spouses and everything. I'm not saying he said that directly, but like that's all what feeds into, it wasn't like a wholesome thing. And I'm not trying to be uptight, as far as like, hey, you can't have some fun and make a dirty joke or something, but it was more than that. Like, it was like an agenda. It was an education to a population to, get people to, start and think about the behaviors. I mean, he came up through that time, the 80s, late 80s, and through the 90s, he was so popular. And I, me growing up during that time and, being in my 20s, through in the 90s, and just seeing, how I used to think, and like, it was just crazy. And I realized it myself, like, that's why I'm saying, like, I was part of it too, in a way, right? As far as just even, being caught up in that world of, hey, let's just go out and have a good time. Let me just say it like that, and it's like, it doesn't matter. And, I don't know. Anyway, that's just kind of how I looked at it. So I just think of him basically as, an agent, a tool of the system. And then on top of it, he goes over, afterwards to, Sirius radio and XM and whatever, and starts up with that, which kind of causes a divide in the terrestrial, radio world. Back in the 70s and stuff, I met a lot of people who worked in, radio again, and these guys, like, it wasn't that way. Like, the DJ was able to come on and pick what songs he wanted to play, knew about the artists, knew about the music, and he or she, played what they wanted to play. Then it starts with, creating playlists, and you can only play the same 20 songs over and over again, all day long. And, then he comes in, I feel like he messed up terrestrial radio in a way, because, it pushed syndication even more, in a sense, and everybody started getting in with this, just wanting to syndicate, these certain shows. Syndication, turns into, cookie cutter again, right? Everything becomes more cookie cutter. Then satellite. Then if you want to be engaged with any of it, you got to be with the satellite, So I don't know. I personally feel like, he ruined everything. I look back even to when 9/11 happened and the way he spoke on that, and not to say, but like, he never tells the truth, is what I realized. Like, and just being so anti-Trump and everything, I don't even understand it. Like, to me, like, the guy, is a smart guy. So you're going to tell me, like, he's intelligent, he can run the show the way he runs, and yet he can't have like a more open, balanced opinion and way of speaking. I mean, even somebody like Joe Rogan, I feel has like a balanced way of approaching and at least having conversation with people, where I feel like, Stern is like, he's like a little bitch, and he is, and this is exactly what he is. He was created, he's a character created and used to perpetuate, like horrible ideals, through a younger generation, just the way he treated people, as far as other, radio people, the way, all under this guise of like fighting the system, which of course is going to get people, to cheer for him. But anyway, that's how I look at it personally. And let me just see if I have anything other with that, because I made a few, sometimes I forget some of the points that I wanted to make. I did think, as I mentioned here too, again with the women, and I just did think that was horrible. Overall, it's like the objectifying, the, whatever. He did all that crap with the sex toys live on the show. I mean, I hate to sound like an old curmudgeon, but, I never cared for that, and I'll tell you this too, going back to fart man, you'll never hear me make a fart joke. I don't even like to say the word fart. I never, even when I did my show way back when, I never would do a fart joke. Like, I just thought it was stupid. Like, it's just like, I don't know, it's just stupid. So I had one guy one time come on my show, and I was reading a public service announcement. So it was like during the break, I'm reading a public service announcement. He went on, he was in the studio, a fellow DJ, and this is for a community station I worked in, and he started burping like, you know, into the mic, the other mic, while I was reading this public service announcement. I'll never forget, because I stayed totally calm, and I just read through the announcement. I said, we'll be right back after this. I turned off the mics, and I turned around. I had the binder in my hand, you know, and I just turned around. I just whipped the binder like right at his head, and I threw him out of the studio screaming at him. I go, you're never coming back on here again. I mean, because that kind, you know, I don't know, as unprofessional as all this may seem, you know, when you, I do have a level of, there is a level of professionalism of how I approach and what I do and how I want to see a show organized, orchestrated, put forth, you know, and such. So that, you know, I can tell people who are there and people, you know, who are not. You know, Stern is obviously a well orchestrated machine, and the fact that he's barely relevant, but the fact that he's relevant enough to even come on now and start this whole thing pushing the woke. And then I saw, you know, he's wearing the jacket. He's got the Black Lives Matter symbol on his jacket. And I'm just like, man, this guy is like, what a goofy, I mean, I'm just saying. You can't tell me that after his years of experience and everything, and that you can't be smarter than that and see that. I mean, it's obvious when you're that into it and you start saying stuff like that, even promoting vaccinations when there's tons of proof about, like, you know, what they do, the harm they do, but he's still promoting that kind of stuff. I'm not, again, I say it all the time, I'm not against transgender. Somebody wants to do something, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to me in certain ways, like to, you know, to manipulate your body and try to change your, you know, your organs and stuff. I mean, it's just very, you know, if you're gay, you're gay. I mean, to me, that makes sense. You're gay. Just be gay. I mean, I don't understand why you got to all of a sudden start taking, you know, estrogen or testosterone, whatever side you're on, and, you know, trying to turn yourself into a man or turn yourself into a woman. It's a sick thing. You know, I'm sorry. I don't mean it as an insult to people out there. I mean, it's not like it's not even like a judgment thing. It's just more of like, you know, think about it. Think about, you know, being programmed the way we've been programmed through the societal norms to even come to a space where you're going to wake up one day and decide, you know, that you're going to, you know, change your gender, to a point where now our society is trying to teach that we shouldn't even assign a gender to anyone when they're born. It's just like, come on, man. Like, we, you know, at some point we got to at least, you know, work with nature a little bit, right? Or we're just all one freaking big science experiment. So anyway, I mean, that's pretty much it. I just think Stern, you know, he's a tool of the system. That's why he's still on. I guess still has influence enough to say stuff that, but it's obvious to me that, and that's why I kind of turned off from him a long time ago. But you know, I see it more and more now and realize, just like everything else in our world, it's all part, you know, of the big show that we're watching. And it's like, that's why I called it Agent Howard Stern, because he was nothing. He's not like some guy who just came up and blah blah blah. He's a tool of the system that was purposely put in place with the narrative and the storyline behind them of, you know, fighting the system and do, and then he was able to perpetuate, like, you know, horrible moral values, you know, out to our society for a number of years, and you know, and he's still out there doing the same thing, trying to support you know, the woke thing, and you know, and I'm sorry, because you know me, guys, I always say no good or bad, no right or wrong, and I really do, you know, believe it, but at the same time, you know, in this physical incarnation and watching things that are happening in the world, you can easily see that, you know, there are agents out there that are built to manipulate and, you know, kind of twist minds. And so if everything came from an even playing ground, you know, even field for everyone, I'm all about that. You know, I try not to get my back up about too many points overall, as far as, like, you know, but it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, either you see it or you don't. I don't know what to say. It's bigger than that. It's vibrating and energy, you know, being energetically aligned to different frequencies, vibrations, things that are, you know, either you're down here or you're not down here. I mean, either you see the big picture or you don't see the big picture. And it's our world has become like, just like a parallel, like two completely separate existences, you know, kind of going on right now. The existence of people who really, you know, see that we're being manipulated and everything is a facade, and the other people who just want to bury their head in the sand and continue to be bots because they don't have any will or oomph or self-respect or responsibility or care. I don't know, whatever. They just want to, be a consumer, enjoy their products, and live stupid and happy, until I guess they croak. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just really the point of their existence. So I don't know what to say. But anyway, Agent Howard Stern. So if you're still out there, listening to him, turn him off. It's a time to turn him off, ladies and gentlemen. Like all those years when Howard Stern was on the radio, I could have been on the radio. Imagine that. I feel I'm just as damn good as Howard Stern. That's for damn sure. That's too much. Hey-o. So anyway, that's what I have for you here today on Operation Status Quo. Remember, everything you see out there, especially the more mainstream it is, the more I want to say corrupt, but the more suspect you should be of the validity of the depths of which you're hearing. That's all I mean. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time as I do each and every time that we're here together, and I appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. I love each and every one of you individually as well as a group. Want to thank Evaporated Bear for hanging in on the chat with me here today. Thanks for being there. Appreciate that. And God bless you. And until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Operation Status Quo disengaged.